Hello everyone, Scrapbooking Saundra here. I have a few things going on with this layout today. First, it's my stash dive. I am determined to use what I love and have before buying any new and wonderful, gorgeous products that I really can't wait to get my hands on. Second, layout prep. This clock is part of my prepping for my layout, and I'll bounce back to that in just a few minutes. And third, timing. I'm timing my layouts just to get an idea of how long it takes me to actually complete a layout. So let's get started. Back to layout prepping. For me, it works like this 90% of the time. 90% of the time, I begin with a photo. And that is great. It's a photo that I like, that I picked out, and the ideas are forming in my head. I know where I want to go with it. 10% of the time, it might begin with a piece of cardstock that I saw that I really fell in love with and I really want to use it, or an embellishment, or I'm in a museum and I get inspired, or I take a walk. It can come from anywhere. My norm is photo first. This layout began with a photo and an idea, which is great because the idea is already helping me with storytelling. And I took this photo of myself in a mirror with the idea of doing an about me photo album. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but it is about me. And I wanted to do it because as I'm scrapbooking more, I noticed I am the picture taker and I'm not in a lot of photos. And I do a lot of fun stuff and I'm at all these events. So I thought, let me take some photos. I want to do something for myself and for my daughter. So I have my photo and I have my story. At this point, I often write down my journaling on a piece of scrap paper because the story doesn't change. It doesn't change with cardstock, it doesn't change with embellishments. So I wrote my journaling down and it went like this. Dear Isabella, this is one of my favorite pictures of me. 1, because I love my eyes, and 2, I love what my eyes get to see. See everything with grateful eyes and feel it in your heart. I love you, always, Mommy. The idea for the journaling for this page came from the idea of the album itself. I want to leave notes in the album for my daughter, like little letters, short little letters. Dear Isabella, I'll say whatever I have to say and sign it. The signature comes from when Isabella was about 3 years old and I go into her room and she's pulled out clothes to get dressed and I offer to help her. It says those 3 little words that I haven't quite gotten used to hearing. I can do it, I can do it. And she looks over at me and she says, you're always Mommy. And she gives me a hug. So I decided always Mommy will be how I sign it. Anyway, so I have my journaling, I have my photo, I have my story, and next it's cardstock. When I choose cardstock, it has a lot to do with the story and the photo. And what do I want to do with it? So I love bling. And the first piece of cardstock I chose was the gold dots. It's by Teresa Collins' Summer Stories collection. And I got to have my bling somewhere on here. And I had this idea of how I wanted the layout to go. Using that as part of my mats, I wanted something, I guess a color that meant something to me. Green is my favorite color. And this shade of green is called Salt Lake, and it's by My Colors. I wanted something bold to go with my photo and the whole idea of this album. So looking at my stash, I've had this cardstock by Craftsmith for the longest period of time. Even though it's beautiful, I don't know why I haven't used it sooner. It's called Natural Luxury, and it's very bold. The lines are very defined, and I like that. So I thought that'll go well with this photo and the gold dots because I really want to use the gold dots. I'm obsessed with the dots. So I have my photo, I have my cardstock, I know my journaling, what I want to do, and I have an idea of where I might place it. So all I need are embellishments. And for this layout, since it's not this huge story, I guess, where I'm telling about an event or something like that, I decided to choose things that I like. So I have the clock I chose because I do have a thing for timepieces. Can't stand to hear anything tick, but I do like the way clocks and watches look and feel. You would think I'm the most on time person there is, but I'm not. And I put together 3 different pieces to make the clock. Um, the base is from vintage vintage trinkets. And then the top piece is actually from Tim Holtz, and they're little tiny tokens that have words on it, and the word on the clock is wander. I tried to choose words for the layout that also meant something to me. And the centerpiece of the clock, it might be Tim Holtz, or it might be Bead Landing or something else. And I'm sorry, I don't know who that is actually from, but I really like how the 3 of those components work together. And I like cameras. I like taking pictures, so that's there. And old typewriters, butterflies, um, metal, and glitter. So I tried to put things on here that I really like a whole lot. And I have a couple wine corks. They're the top of a wine bottle cork that has the words enjoy and cheers on it. So I kind of sliced it off the cork, and I'm using them as embellishments. Um, So my layout prepping in the beginning, before I even start laying anything down, I cut up paper the way I think I might use it. And even though a ton of paper, or I shouldn't say a ton, a lot of paper doesn't end up on here that I actually cut up. I had it available in case I did more layering um, or something other than what it came out to be. But I had this idea, and it kind of came out pretty much the way I imagined it to be because I didn't want to cover up the background cardstock completely. I really didn't want to do that. So I didn't want to go, excuse me, too crazy with matting or layering. My title is Beautiful Everyday Moments. And the little gold letters, I can't remember who they're from, but I thought it would go well with the gold dots. So most of the times when I'm choosing paper or cardstock, I try to think of what goes together, what's pleasing to my eye. And it's really nothing more than that. Having the majority of this come from one collection really helped because all the paper goes together. I didn't have to stop and think, is this going to work well together? And it also speeds up the time of how long a layout might take. I kept disappearing in this layout. You might not notice it because it's sped up a little bit, but time-wise, on filming, it says it went over about 40 minutes, a little over 40 minutes. So it was probably actually a little under that. Well, not really. I mean, I wandered a bit. I walked away from it a couple minutes, but anyway, the actual time at the end of the layout was about 40 minutes. So that's not bad. Not bad for me anyway. And I guess I don't really mind about the length of time it takes me to do a layout. Time varies, and it's the finished layout that matters most. But with that said, I am trying to polish my scrapbooking process since I prep and I mean, most times I have a sketch in my head that I want to use for the layout, just an idea and, a vision. And I've been trying a lot to trust my own creative process and not to overthink things. You've seen my tapping fingers, and I'm busy thinking. I don't think my tapping fingers are going away. I see them in a video, and I'm like, oh, there it goes again. But anyway, I do think my layout prepping really helps cut down on the time or the length that my actual layout would take if I didn't pull out cardstock and have everything, my embellishments on my table, my working table. It would take me forever if I had to stop and pause and go grab something. And I mean, sometimes you realize as the process is going along that things change. like this, my journaling changed. I really thought my journaling would be written on the bottom with the gold letters above it, and I ended up putting my journaling at the top, which is something I don't normally put journaling at the top of a layout. So this was, different, but it's nice. I liked it. I'll probably try it again. Anyway, I am committed to what I'm doing here. I have sped it up a bit to super speed just to go to the end here. And that book, I shouldn't be using that gorgeous journal of mine on top of this, but I reached back for the whatever was closest to me to set on top, the flatten, to make my photo stick down flat. Anyway, don't try that at home. I'm really excited I got to dive into my stash today and pull out this particular paper collection. It's been sitting there forever. It's so pretty and it really looks nice in a layout. So doing those stash dives, it's a good thing. We all probably have papers and products, stashed away, hidden away. And I am surprised what I'm finding as I'm clearing out paper. I keep finding really neat stuff like this. Anyway, we're at the end. This is a little closer view of it. Thanks again for joining me. I have a few stills to show you. Have an awesome day, and I will see you next time.